Hey guys, Hybrid here, and I'm doing a review of Godzilla, the 2014 film, obviously not the 1998 film, because we don't talk about that. It's not even Godzilla, it's Zilla. But anyways, the 2014 Godzilla, I saw it twice today. It's one of the perks of working in a movie theater. You get free tickets, you just go see it as many times as you want. And I saw it in regular 2D, and in RPX, which is basically IMAX, 3D. And I'll tell you straight off the bat, don't feel pressured to see it in 3D whatsoever. It doesn't add anything to the film. I actually felt like it looked a little bit worse in 3D than it did in 2D. Obviously, it was one of those cases where they converted it in post-production, so don't feel any need to. It's not like any other, film that's from the get-go intended to be presented in 3D and 2D. So moving on, though, this movie was good. Actually great, in my opinion. There was a few things I didn't like, and it's a good thing I saw it twice, because I was able to understand and catch things I didn't beforehand that kind of confused me. So I'm going to talk about the good. The acting is actually surprisingly good. The only actor that had a kind of, substantial part that I felt really didn't deliver was the one of the U.S. Navy men. The African American guy who I don't know what rank he was, I can't remember, but he was under the admiral, obviously, and he seemed like the second in command. Whenever that actor was kind of saying his lines, it just felt like he was saying them. It didn't really feel like he was invested in them, like the other actors were. So he kind of seemed odd, around everybody else, because everyone else seemed to actually be in their role, and then there's him, and he sounds like he's just reading off his lines. So that was kind of odd. That caught my attention both times watching the movie. But, Bryan Cranston, oh, by the way, there will be spoilers in this. I'm putting in a title too, but I know some people can't read titles, I guess. They get mad that I say spoilers, even though I put spoiler in the title. So I just said spoilers. You've had like about 5 seconds probably at this point to click out of the video and watch it after you watch the movie. So anyways, moving on. Yeah, Bryan Cranston is the best actor in this movie, hands down. He, from his, first scene in the beginning to the 40 minutes he's in the film before he dies. Like, he's only in it for like 40 minutes. It's ridiculous. I think they gave him top billing, actually, in this film, which is also ridiculous because that should go to Aaron Taylor Johnson. But yeah, Bryan Cranston, before I move on to Aaron Taylor Johnson, great job. He really helped set the emotional tone for this movie in the beginning. And that was very important, about caring about the characters especially. So he was pretty pivotal, actually, even after he died. The stuff he did was pretty pivotal, and I did enjoy his character. Now, also, let me move a little bit closer. Also, Aaron Taylor Johnson did a good job. I felt, for what he was given, he really executed the role. To compare it to another movie, somewhat similar in a sense of, you have all these... Actually, let me rephrase that. A movie that you could kind of compare, this to on a broad spectrum would be Transformers, in a sense where Aaron Taylor Johnson is to Godzilla what Sam Witwicky is to Transformers. And I say that because you go to a Godzilla movie and you want to see Godzilla. You go to a Transformers movie and you want to see the Transformers. But in order to relate it to the audience, they have this whole human drama subplot. The difference between this, though, and Transformers is that this one actually does it right. And it actually feels like the human characters are actually, it feels like an invested story. It just doesn't just feel like it's there to be there. So I did enjoy that. Elizabeth Olsen did a pretty good job, too. It was kind of awkward, obviously, kind of seeing them being all lovey-dovey husband and wife when, like, they're going to be brother and sister in Avengers Age of Ultron. But you really get over that, because they're actors, this is their role. So it's not like a big deal or anything. Plus, they're only like lovey-dovey for like one scene, and it's not even that long. Because the rest of the movie, they're pretty much not even near each other until the end. So that doesn't detract from anything. But I gotta say, this movie, all the other actors were good. Godzilla, the CGI was great. The other Muto monsters, the male and the female one, were great. It's just, I liked this movie a lot. The fighting between the monsters are good too, which transitions to my kind of negatives. Now, I love how they did the fight scenes. I love how they showed them, but I felt until the final fight, it was very, very brief, and I felt like they were teasing people to death. And that's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it really builds up the final confrontation, that because you've been wanting to see the actual fight now. But it's kind of bad because let's say this movie wasn't good, but the fight scenes were good. We've been teased so much, this would be like the only Godzilla fight scene we'd be getting for, probably another decade. So, yeah, it has the good and the bad to it. I viewed it in a much more favorable light, but I did kind of, in the beginning, I was kind of feeling a bit, kind of like, because they kept on, like, they'd have the fight scene begin, and then they cut it. It'd be like news report, or it'd be like we'd see it through the news report. Which brings me to my other thing. Everybody in general were way too calm with the concept of giant monsters being, first off existing, but also going around destroying, famous cities. Because when the Mutos were going around, towards San Francisco and all that stuff, and, destroying Japan and, like San Francisco and all that stuff, Honolulu, Hawaii, when that was happening, everybody, especially the military, they were way too calm, in my opinion. After learning about the Mutos, like the guy that actually was studying the Mutos seemed more surprised about the Mutos than everybody else that had no idea about the Mutos. Like there was a scene where I think it was the Hawaii scene where the military is set up for the Mutos being there and Godzilla, and when Godzilla appears, they start shooting at him. The civilian bystanders on the rooftop seemed more startled by gunfire than they were by the fact that Godzilla was right there. So that was kind of odd to me, because you would think that seeing Godzilla or seeing the Mutos would freak people out more than gunfire. So that was kind of odd to me. Also, another thing that was kind of odd to me was just how they explained the Mutos. I was expecting something else besides parasites. And the reason I say that is because when you think of a parasite, parasites aren't usually that big at all. And I was hoping they'd go more into the Mutos. Exactly, like, are they alien? Something like that. But no, they're just parasites that feed off radiation. So that was kind of odd, because it didn't really explain them. It was just kind of like, oh, that's what they are. Just accept it. But I did enjoy how, the history they gave with Godzilla. I appreciate the Japanese, kind of connection they did there. That was very good. And like I said, the fight scenes are great. I'm calling it the kiss of death before anyone else does. I heard other people starting to call it that, but I'm copywriting that name now. Me and my friend John, we came up with a name. The thing that Godzilla does to the female Muto at the end of the movie is called the kiss of death. It's beautiful, to say the least. I just really wanted Godzilla 2 now, because I want to see more Godzilla, like the one we got in this movie. And, this one, it doesn't make up for the 1998 movie. It obliterates the 1998 movie. Like, in my mind, after seeing this movie, there is no way the 1998 movie could even be called Godzilla anymore. Like, I understand now why the Japanese, like, disowned that movie and just called it Zilla, because this movie puts the god back in Godzilla. And I did love the references they made to, like, King of Monsters and all that stuff. I thought that was really cool. And I hope this movie does really well. It opened pretty big in my theater. So I'm hoping it opens pretty big everywhere else. Because if we get a sequel, maybe Toho will give Legendary more rights to different characters that we could see in the Godzilla sequel, instead of, just like Mutos or, some other made-up monster. So if I had to say, go see this opening day, go see this matinee later on, etc., etc., go see it opening day. I'd even say this is a midnight-worthy premiere movie. Now, obviously, by the time I upload this, it'll probably be too late to just go to a midnight showing on opening night, but you never know, depending on where you live. Yeah, so this is Hybrid. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. To sum up my thoughts, it's Godzilla done right, finally, and it's perfect because you have the great human story, and you have the great technology we have nowadays to bring a very, not accurate, but bring a very awesome Godzilla to screen. So this is Hybrid, and I'll see you guys later.